here is just end between safety and VSS. That'll at least give us enough to get the engine to fire off. The next tutorial will focus on setting up the idle control, drive-by-wire control. We have to get all that sorted out, and then we'll set the timing. And then once we get into other features and functions, such as our boost control, we'll configure that. Once we're looking at launch control, traction control, gear cut, we'll look at that. We'll try to leave those for those separate training modules because, again, I'm trying not to keep these tutorials super long. I want to go and be as in-depth as possible and cover as many details as possible with this, but obviously you don't want to sit for 2 hours at a time. So let's go to safety here and let's take a look. Under the RPM limit, let's go here. We're going to go and set to ignition cut. Now, we have dual tables in advanced mode. We're going to turn the advanced mode on. This is going to allow me to be very specific with how the cut is going to be on the vehicle. So looking at this, RPM limit, there's an adaptive cut. Control range, this is going to be how it's going to be starting to cut. So if I program, let's say, a value in my RPM limit table here, and let's see if we have an import. So let's go to import from file. Let's see if we have a table set up, and probably don't. Okay, let's do this. Let's just set this up. This is gear versus coolant temp. What we can do here to axis setup, let's just click on this. This would be a rev limiter per gear. I don't need to do that. What I can actually do here for the y-axis, we can set this to none. Now I can get more specific with this, and we might want to do that. We can actually program a burnout limiter in here, and you know what, let's change it back to gear, and we'll do that. We'll set up a burnout limiter. Let's go gear status 1, 2. This is a 5-speed transmission, so we'll only go up to 5, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All right. Colder temperatures. We'll put a lower limiter. Let's put it something like 7,000 RPM. Warmer temperatures, 100 to 212. We'll set this and make sure we're going across all the gears. We're going to set this to, for right now, let's do 9,500. That's going to be the max I want to rev it to. We're getting hotter than this, even at 230. Allow it to go to 95. But if we get up to something like 248, we're going to go and drop that down to something like 3,000 or even 4,000, just so it shuts it down. Then between 68 and 104 as it's warming up, we'll allow that to a little bit higher rev limiter. Set the rest here at 7,000. Now, the way this is going to work with our limiter table here, it's going to take a look at the limit control range. So if I program a limiter here at 9,500, let's fill this in here, it's going to start to cut 300 RPM before. I can actually lower this down to even something like 200. What this is going to do is create a softer limiter. It's going to start to initiate the cut and cut harder as it gets close to the top limit that I want it to go at. Hard limit activation. This is going to be the RPM to have that hard limit activation happen at. We'll leave it at 0 RPM, TPS low, and end cut. This is going to be the maximum it's going to cut at. I'm going to lower this down a little bit. In this case, I'll lower it down to, we'll go to something like 85%. It won't be a full cut. The start cut, TPS is 100, TPS low. This is going to be where it initiates the cut at. So 60% throttle, it's going to start the cut. Start cut TPS low, we'll do it at something like 30. TPS low, this is going to be the throttle position it's going to initiate the cut at. So there's two different, this is the start cut. This is if we're at 100% throttle where it's going to initiate that cut at. This is going to be what it considers to be low. Let's set this low at something like 40. Cut decay time, how long it waits to decay away. We'll set that a little bit quicker, 300. The ignition trim limit, let's set it at -10. Fueling limit, we don't need to go and offset any fuel and time decay. This is going to be how quickly it dissipates that trim away. We're going to lower that down to something like 100 milliseconds, so relatively quick. So it's going to pull some timing to soften up the limiter, and then it's going to go here and pull up 10 degrees, whatever the timing's at, it'll pull 10 out to soften it up. It'll wait 100 milliseconds to restore the timing back in fully. And our cut decay time, this is going to wait 300 milliseconds for it to turn off. I'll even set this to maybe 200. So it's going to dissipate the cut real quick. We don't want the cut to linger as we're getting into the next gear that can cause us time for acceleration. So looking at this, the limit control range 200, adaptive. The other options here is constant. Constant gets rid of that adaptive nature. That's another option. And hard limit activation, if I remember correctly, and this has been a minute since I set up an advanced limiter like this. We don't have the hard limit. If we have the hard limit on here. Yeah, hard limit activation, we'll leave that off since hard limit is off. So that's going to be, hard limit would be 100% cut. So I'm essentially saying the end cut, the highest it can cut up to is 85% of the spark. If we do a full cut, it's going to lay the engine over. We want a little bit of spark left so that it has some combustion, some a little bit smoother on the engine. Now we have to test this. So this is just a starting point. I'm going to probably have to go in and completely test this, but we're just going to go and just kind of run with these settings. What I can do with this RPM limit table, I'll just do an export to file.
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.